So every decade has a very defining tech trend. So in the key tech drivers for this decade, a lot of convergence is happening over the last 3 to 4 years that have enabled this industry that have been waiting on the sidelines for a long. There are three big things that have happened in the last 3 years. The first portion of it is the quality of lidars that have gone up in the last 3 years. So last year saw a series of lidar companies that have gone public. It's a very significant piece of technology for self-driving vehicles. Even 5 years ago, it used to be super expensive in the range of about $100,000, very well out of reach for most robots. And robotic vacuum cleaners, for a long time, Roomba was the one dominating. And it used a variety of sound-based sensors to be able to navigate around the environment. But recently, MI brought in the more LiDAR-based vacuum cleaner, which significantly changed the way that robot vacuum cleaner works. And in the next 2-3 years, we expect to see more such self-driving vehicles starting to come, primarily because of the revolution that happened in the LiDAR. The second big revolution that has happened is in the natural language processing. So even 3 to 4 years ago, so if you tried talking to Siri or Google's in automatic speech recognition, ASR, and the natural language processing, which have enabled robots to understand human language far better than any time in the past. Of course, to set the expectation right, we are still not anywhere closer to the human capability in terms of understanding unstructured text. But then we are now getting close to production quality thing in terms of structured text in various business environments. So this is this second big pillar that has changed the last couple of years. And then the third big pillar that has changed is in the computer vision, OCR, character recognition from written text, or doing things like facial recognition, emotion recognition, object recognition, and so on. Computer vision has gone through a significant leapfrogging for the last 5 years. So we have vision, voice, and the whole navigation around, all of them have gone through dramatic change in the last 3 to 4 years. Now, so enabling the robotics companies to do things that were not possible even in 2017, 2018. So that's the big technology shift that has occurred. In parallel, there is a huge shift occurring in the economic world. So the first portion of the trend that is occurring is there is increasing barriers in borders that is occurring. So from about 80s, world went through one of the series of globalization. So it's required two key materials to be able to do that. So copper and tin. And these were found in different parts of the world. Copper from places like Spain and tin from places like Afghanistan. So you needed to trade these two from two different parts of the old world. And that created trade routes, enabling civilizations to come up in the middle, places like Egypt, Mesopotamia, and so on. Then, with the arrival of iron and so on, that first wave of globalization collapsed, and world went through a series of chaos and so on. And then about 700 years ago, world went through a fourth globalization wave with the arrival of the Mongols, who took in a range of technology from China and other countries and were able to take it around the world, including paper currency, gunpowder, and so on. Then the fifth wave of fifth wave of globalization sort of got ended because now once again the nations were fighting for various reasons, and then the last wave of globalization started occurring from about 1980s. Sort of the global markets, including countries like China, India, Brazil, Russia, and so on, started getting integrated in the 1990s, enabling far faster movement of movement of economic items around the world sort of ended due to multiple reasons, including like a series of nationalist movements that are occurring around the world, including in the US, in China, and so on. So all of this has been creating a perfect storm that has not been seen anytime in the past. So COVID has again put significant pressure on human caregivers, doctors, and nurses. In fact, in this summer, once again, we are starting to see a trend in India that we have seen last year too. There was a big exodus of healthcare workers who are fearing COVID and moving back home and so on. So that is likely to occur this summer too. So significantly straining the healthcare systems. And so robots are filling in that gap. So once the robots start filling in, once people start getting comfortable with the idea of robots, then it's going to be a sort of a virtuous cycle that is going to happen. With more usage, the learning algorithms get better, that enabling a far better user experience to them. And then with the better user experience, more people start getting comfortable with robotics, and so it is going to go on a virtuous cycle. So, we have seen the technology side factors. We have seen the sort of the social side factors. The third thing that is occurring is on the demographics, especially that is important in the future of robotics. This is occurring from the rapidly aging world. So in this decade, world is going to add 350 million senior citizens to an already older population. That means that we are going to need far better caregivers and in far bigger numbers, for which the government resources are not sufficient. And people are also increasingly becoming less fit compared to the previous generation. So for like multiple generations, world has been seeing a increasing level of fitness and sort of life expectancy. And the last 15 years, we are seeing the first signs of reversal of that global trend, and people are getting sicker and die sooner than their parents in some other communities, and that might worsen over the next 15-20 years because of obesity and so on. With all that thing coming up, that's where robotics is going to have a significant impact over this decade. By 2030, it will become very, very common for us to have multiple robots in our home. So the entire world of robots, if you look at it, it measures in few millions, and most of them are either vacuum cleaners or industrial robots. By 2030, it is going to be about 15 to 20 billion robots going to be around. The great companies get created in this trend. So when the PC revolution happened, there were hundreds of the unicorn equivalents that were created. Consulting, Capgemini, Infosys, Wipro, and so on, and then to companies like NIIT and so on that were creating the education infrastructure. So overall, we had over 300 big global beaters that were created with the PC revolution. Similarly, when internet hit, again hundreds of great companies like the likes of Amazon, Google, eBay were created. So again, about the social media revolution, and again with the smartphone revolution, we were able to scale up the companies like Uber, Airbnb, and so on. So every big revolution has the potential to create hundreds of massive Fortune 2000 companies and tens of thousands of amazing companies. And this is going to be quite important for many of you sitting in the audience who are looking to build up their future. Robotics is one way where you might be creating future companies. It could be in directly building robots. It could be building in the software for robots. It could be in building training modules and support infrastructure, consulting, and so on. A range of things are going to occur around this ecosystem. And again, we have been building robots for the last 4 years of various form factors. So one of the things that we wanted to dispel the notion that in India we cannot build hardware. All of these were built in India, and we have taken to global markets, and we have customers across the world, including in the US and Australia and Singapore. So hardware can be built in India. We don't need to go to China to build hardware. We can design great hardware. We can build the prototypes. We can build the molds, and we can also do the manufacturing. So the entire ecosystem is now getting built up in India. 4 years ago, we struggled with the lack of ecosystem, but then we have been working with a variety of players to enable a stronger hardware ecosystem to come in. And the next 5 years with the ecosystem, you're going to have a exponential effect where the quality of our products are going to come up closer to the level of what is there in the Western world. Was there like in a half a generation ago in the same shoes, and the only companies I tried was like for Microsoft and Google, and eventually went to work for one of them. But then now the market is far more diverse. The number of smart companies that have come up in the last 7 to 8 years, whether it is in delivery or in education and so on, has come up. And the robotics is going to open up the sort of the prosperity route to far more disciplines, whether it is in going to be on far better mechanical engineering aspects, or going to be in like the biomedical engineering, or even things like chemical engineering to build far better batteries and so on. So you guys have to start thinking at different routes to prosperity. Software development in the conventional way is not the only route for it. Software is going to be an enabler, but software is not necessarily the only way to this thing. So that you guys have to be thinking through it, because there is this fourth industrial revolution, of which robotics is a central element that is coming up. And so you guys might be able to find better opportunities in other segments too. It's a great idea for India. And one thing that I want to show with this thing is, so it's not just the India market we have to be looking at. So we have to be building in India, but we have to be built for the world. So I just want to show you the coverage we have been getting, not in Indian media, but in the global media. So here is one of the top talk shows in the US.
Welcome back to First Move. Gliding around on wheels, guided by facial recognition technology and gaining trust with a friendly voice. These robots are doing the work that humans sometimes can't during this pandemic, getting close up with COVID patients and even connecting them with loved ones via a built-in tablet. As the CEO says, these robots are bringing humanity to hospitals. Balaji Vishwanathan heads up India's Inventor Robotics, and he joins us now. Balaji, fantastic to have you on the show. Just explain what these robots are capable of, because when I was watching them online and reading about it, I was totally blown away.
Now we can go to the next level and start building a range of global manufacturing products, getting in and become the world leader. And that is the only way in which we can lift millions of people out of poverty. Software, all said and done, it employs very few people. How many people Google or Microsoft or even companies like Infosys employ? It's a small fraction of the society. Every country that have become developed has gone onto the manufacturing revolution. And in manufacturing, we don't have to do the low-end manufacturing. We can leapfrog into the high-end manufacturing and start dominating this sector. So this is that big opportunity that is there. And with various things that have happened, we are now breaking the global perceptions about Indian hardware. So 20 years ago, the global's like misperceptions about India's software changed. Now world over, people know that India can build great software. Now it's also we are now letting people know that India can also build great hardware, and that change in the brand is going to help all of you guys to whenever you guys are starting your own manufacturing companies. So this is the sort of the trend going on. So again, we are still a small young player on the left, and then there is a increasing order of global companies. So on the right next to us, the egg-shaped robot called Nightscope. Again, the last few years, we've done a phenomenal job based off the Bay Area. So now they are worth close to $500 million just with that egg-shaped robot that moves around. Then there is this company called Locus, which have again gone to $1 billion in the last few years. Being able to, again, it is a sort of a tablet and a simple body, but with that they've been able to create phenomenal value to be able to take it up. And then again, many of you guys already know Boston Dynamics, which is again reinventing itself in a range of activities towards robotics. Once you start understanding the industry, you will be able to unlock huge value sets, and you'll be able to bring range of prosperity to India. Again, I'll show you one quick this thing on how robots are getting smarter. So here, this is the view of our robot, how it is looking at. So it is able to look at, track the different limbs of a person, see what actions are they making, are they doing any monkey business, are they falling around, and so on. And with that, we're able to build a range of intelligence about what that person is doing. So these activities are going to be very, very important as the robots be closer in our environments and start doing activities alongside us. So it's not like robots versus humans. It is going to be robots plus humans working together in a lot of smart ways. Again, I'll also show you some of the things that is happening with our robots, doing more on the practical side, whether it is to get into elevators, or being able to avoid obstacles in hospitals, or having multiple robots going around in tandem, and so on. And just a starting point for what is happening. So we are just at the start of this magical decade.
Well, thank you very much, sir. That was a truly insightful look into the upcoming decade. It will be exciting to see how things play out with the advancing technology. And so if you'd be inviting some questions, there's some questions someone has written. It says, if companies like Tesla are managing to completely automate their manufacturing processes through robots, why are we seeing less number of daily usage robots for the general public? Is it not the priority?
So industrial context in some sense is a lot simpler than home context. Home is the hardest sector for any technology to enter. So for instance, home computers, they entered decades after computers revolutionized industry and warfare. So in the 1940s, Alan Turing was able to build computers that were able to break German ciphers and so on. But still in 1940s, the world was not ready to have robots at our homes. It took like 5 more decades for robots to come into our homes. So
Shivam asks, what are the technical challenges, hardware or software, that you see that you think have to be solved for much better robotic experience?
So there are a bunch of activities. The first activity, let's say, in a home kind of an environment, homes are not designed for machines to move around. Homes are fairly cluttered. Sometimes in some places there are like stairs. There are sometimes like uneven this thing or a small step from this thing. So these things have to be sort of cleared. And homes usually follow the technology around. So when air conditioners and so on came in, homes designed to accommodate them. So we have to start changing the various aspects of the home to enable robots of different kinds to be able to move around. That is on sort of the design aspects. Same thing in public spaces and so on. Being able to engage in a movement. And then being able to access public utilities like elevators. So last week we entered into a partnership with Kone. So we have been pushing elevator companies to build smart interfaces for robots to engage. So if you have to go from one floor to another, walking over the stairs, it is like it's a previous centuries thing. Like we have to be able to have the robots move from one floor to another with elevators. And those smart elevators again are getting launched. So number of these aspects on mobility side, it is getting created. Then there are also things that are needed on user education, user expectation to be there. So when you got your first phone, you didn't expect the phone to understand you and do magic. You expected the phone to do one activity. So what happens in robotics? One of the things that the industry as a problem is, people when they hear robots, they get freaked out. So they start imagining things. When I say, like, I'm going to give you a smartphone, you're not imagining the next science fiction movie. But when it comes to robots, people get very random, and this randomness of people user this thing is a quite a bit of a problem for the entire robotics industry. So then it becomes a mismatched expectation. So they are in one level of technology. You're talking about building the next level. They are not thinking of so you have to be either here or we are going to stay in this thing. We don't want anything in the middle. So the robotics industry across, we are working on various ways to educate users on robots. It is neither to be feared of, nor it is a magic. It is a piece of technology that is a perception battle, again, has to be solved. So these are some of the bigger challenges that we have. Technology is sort of the becoming the simpler aspect when it comes to the change, but the social aspect, the design aspects, all environmental aspects, those have to be changed better.
So because you brought that up, there's some question. What is your opinion of AI or robots in warfare?
So it's an important segment. So we are also part of the Society of Indian Defence Manufacturers. We got admitted into it for Army to request us to be able to give us orders on the new age. There are multiple applications that have come up. I cannot go into the details on the defense applications, but then the top level aspects is many part of current warfare can be are places where robots can help the thing. So simple things like getting into in an urban warfare, when you are looking at scouting for this thing, or like sweeping for mines and bombs. These are locations, places where robots can have a significant help to the military. So it will take some more time. But
questions. There's one question. What was your first breakthrough product?
So overall, the thing is, Mitra was our first thing. So now we have a suite of products, robots in the thing. Mitra is still our flagship. So when we started, the hardware industry was very, very non-existent in India too, and even those who are manufacturing, like those who are hardware companies, they got it manufactured in Shenzhen and came in. So our thing is, so we are going to persevere with building in India, even if it takes longer, even if we have to go through multiple levels of failure. It has to be built. 2 more years later, we were able to take it to the global market. So Mitra is still our hero of our company.
And so there's this quite a common question, but a lot of outputs. So I'll pass it to you. What kind of jobs you think will go extinct as robotics evolves?
It is going to be quite a harder things to say. What will happen is many of the jobs will get changed as we go. I don't think any jobs will go extinct. It is going to change. For instance, when computers came, people there were there were accounting people who will be writing in ledgers and so on, until the 1980s. So you'll be having these people putting margins and writing those. That you didn't need that thing anymore. You had the Excel to do that. But then these accountants now were able to get a much higher paying job with Excel. They were able to become a financial analyst or say a CFA and so on. So to get there. So you got an upgrade from an accountant and a bookkeeper who now is able to do modeling with things like Excel. Similarly, there were places of people like stenographers who will be writing things on shorthand to do that. They got once computers came, they got transformed into data entry operators and so on. So like that, what will happen is, a lot of the jobs, their job description will change. Again, typists, again, their things change. So still we need typing, still we need all the people who do desktop publishing and so on, the people who do design element and so on. But from typists, their thing got changed into creating documents. So similarly, almost every field, whether it is medical assistants or doctors or warehouse workers, their job description are all going to change. And the good part is that salaries also is going to change. So for a person in the 80s who was working with a knowledge job, they would be earning like 6,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees at best. But then the same person now, with the computers that got enabled, they are able to earn lakhs of rupees per month. The same thing is going to happen. A warehouse worker or a delivery person who is who doesn't have a technology leverage, he is doing the end mundane stuff, so earning far lesser. With now robots enabling the mundane stuff, he's going to be a fleet manager of robots. He's going to be the robot guide, the robot trainer, and so on, and enabling far better, far higher paying jobs.
I don't see any more questions now, sir.
Okay, so also time. I guess on the 3:45 to join another call. But it was great interacting with you guys.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for joining.